No one's talking about this. The reason I believe Putin is going into Ukraine is this. He is trying to stop the spread of globalism into his country.
Response force inside Ukraine right now?
No, there are no NATO combat troops, no troops, NATO troops at all inside Ukraine. We have made it clear that we don't have any plans and intention of deploying NATO troops to Ukraine. We help them to build a more modern, capable armed force, military. We have helped them to train, equip, but we don't have NATO troops in Ukraine, and we don't have any plans to send NATO troops into Ukraine.
Let me stop this here. Okay. So it looks to me like Putin has the NATO allies shaking in their boots. And so I was actually looking at this last night later, and I came to the conclusion this. No one's talking about this. The reason I believe Putin is going into Ukraine is this. He is trying to stop the spread of globalism into his country. Think about this. Putin referred to his country as the fatherland. So the fatherland is a very patriarchal statement, by the way, and it's something that would be considered extremely unwoke to the globalists of the world, the Sleepy Joes, the Merrick Garlands, etc. They won't like the term, what's up, Don? They wouldn't like the term fatherland. So we're talking about a person who's more patriarchal in leading their country. That's Putin. He's also dealing with what looks like is a very weak counterpart, that is President Biden. Extremely weak. We saw what he did in Afghanistan, saw how the pullout went. It was not good. It made us look weak. So he sees a weakness there. Furthermore, think about it this way. We are in his backyard, okay? Remember what happened during the Cuban Missile Crisis? The Russians were in our backyard. President Kennedy, what did he do? He went to brinksmanship and he said, no more missile parts are going to go to the island of Cuba. And if they do, all of our missiles and all of our troops are pointed and aimed at you. Okay? And Russia blinked. But what happened also was Russia asked that the United States remove missiles that were in, I think it was Turkey, if I remember correctly. So this went on behind the scenes. So we are in Russia's backyard right now. Russia is going to behave more defensively and more protectively. That's something that Biden and his team and his cohorts have to take into consideration. Unfortunately, he's being advised by a lot of extremists and radicals who don't understand the traditional patriarchal view of international diplomacy. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I ultimately think the West is going to blink. And I'm not anti-West, right? I'm not pro-Putin. Okay, Putin is not necessarily a great guy. He's actually a bad guy in many regards. However, what Putin is doing is he is standing up to the spread of globalism. He does not want to see it destroy his country. He does not want to see there being the creation of gender ambiguity throughout his country, which is spreading throughout the West, spreading with globalism. Okay, he doesn't want to see the decay of the traditional European culture. That is his viewpoint, and that's what he's trying to do. So in that sense, I think Putin has a right to protect his sovereignty and perhaps the empire that used to be around him. Now, is it good that he's going into Ukraine and he's harming people? Absolutely not. I'm not for that. I'm against that. But in the sense that he's fighting against or resisting the spread of globalism, I think he has that right. And unfortunately, he has perceived weakness in President Biden, and as a result, he's made his move. But think about it this way. What if President Biden gave him the assurance off of the battlefield that he would not have the risk or the chance of Ukraine joining the NATO ally alliance? What if President Biden gave him that assurance and also gave him the assurance that we would not put missiles into the country of Ukraine. That in itself should be enough to de-escalate the situation. But President Biden is not being advised correctly. And we all know, at least most of us know, he is a puppet. And this puppet doesn't know what he's doing. He's being advised by extremists who are very woke in their worldview. The Democrats, yep, absolutely, they want socialism and control. And Biden should definitely resign. I agree, Don, absolutely. So basically, Russia does not want a woke system in their country or near their country. Ukraine used to be part of the Soviet Socialist Empire, the USSR, okay? And as a result, there is repercussions when Ukraine starts to become more globalized or enter into this globalist alliance, this globalist way of thinking, this globalist way of running families, running educational institutions, the wokeness, etc. Putin is extremely aware of this, and what he's trying to do is he's trying to stop the spread of globalism. Now, is he right or wrong in his approach? I don't agree with attacking another country. I'm worried about the mayhem that's going to be happening with families, etc., and the stability of the society in Ukraine. However, in the bigger totality of things, what he's trying to do again is stop the spread. What's up, Rich? Good to see you. He's trying to stop the spread of globalism. And so as a result, he's telling Sleepy Joe, look, you're not going beyond Ukraine. As a matter of fact, you went too far with Ukraine. You're arming them with weapons. You're not agreeing. We shouldn't be involved. You're exactly right, Don. He's saying that, look, we don't want you to have Ukraine join the NATO alliance. We don't want Ukraine to have missiles pointed at Russia, just like we didn't during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And you know what? It's his backyard. We need to respect that. And again, I don't agree with going into Ukraine. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we're dealing with two nuclear-armed powers, okay, us and Russia, and we need to respect that. And I think ultimately Biden is going to understand that. However, it's tough to say because of the senile nature of Sleepy Joe Biden. And he also has advising him some radical extremists who are extremely anti-traditional in their mindset. Their mindset is that they want to destroy anybody who's anti-globalist. And think about it this way. There were three leaders who were extremely anti-globalist. That was President Trump, okay, it's President Putin, Vladimir Putin, and also Xi, the leader of China. Those three world leaders were the most prestigious anti-globalists out there. They've already gotten rid of Trump, at least for now. Hopefully he will be back again, God willing. But now they're looking at Putin and they're looking at Xi. And obviously they're more fearful of Xi and China than they are of Putin. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think, thanks Rich, I don't think that Putin is going to blink. I think Putin is playing chess while Sleepy Joe is playing checkers. And I don't think Putin is going to go down, meaning he's going to resign or finish his term or tenure as leader of Russia when Russia is on the brink of becoming a woke country, just like the rest of Western Europe. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on next, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think that Putin's going to allow that. What we have to be careful with as a country is that we don't over-respond. What's that? I'd give anything for a mean tweet. I'd give anything for a mean tweet right now from Trump as well, too, matter of fact. So we're missing President Trump. So think about it this way. China's right behind with, you're right, Rich, absolutely. So after this, the perception of weakness when at Afghanistan, we had people falling off of that plane, right, of the planes, the cargo planes that were leaving. When we left all of that U.S. military, the billions of dollars of U.S. military equipment behind in Afghanistan, these countries such as Russia, such as China, even North Korea, Iran, saw the weakness of the U.S. leadership. So Taiwan could very well be next. You're right, Rich. I think it probably is going to be next. And so it's unfortunate we're being perceived as weak, but we also have to be careful that the counter response isn't something that's going to trigger an escalation of an armed conflict between major world powers like us and Russia or us and China. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm definitely missing President Trump right now. We didn't have any conflicts or issues, at least major ones, with a nuclear-armed Russia when he was the president, because they perceived him as being strong and resolved in what he's doing. And his mental capacity was much better than President Biden. He wasn't being led by a number of radical advisors. So again, it'll be interesting to see what goes on next. Russia and China versus the U.S. That's the real issue. Absolutely great point, Rich. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. They see weakness. It's kind of like a shark smelling blood in the water. Sleepy Joe doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And as a result, countries like Russia and China see that. And these guys don't want any part of this globalist BS, because globalism to them means basically an ambiguity of gender roles in their countries. You're welcome. An ambiguity of gender roles in their countries. These guys don't want it. They don't believe in it. I'm not saying I support the leaders of China or Russia. What I'm saying is they can see right through this globalism bullshit. Excuse my French, but that's what it is. So they don't want gender ambiguity. They don't want social uprising. They don't want civil unrest. They don't want anarchy. They don't want wokeness in their countries. And as a result, they're going to say, no, enough is enough. We're not letting this happen. Unfortunately, these people also can be tyrant-like as well, too. So again, we don't want to get into major conflicts with them. It would be good to have a big dog in there like President Trump, holding these countries accountable, letting them have their autonomy. They should be able to do whatever the hell they want to do in their own country. Keep it within their own country or close to their borders. But if they go into the Western Hemisphere and cause issues there, I understand us taking a stance. Or if they're affecting, let's say, the access to resources for energy or what have you, I understand us taking a stronger stance. But we're dealing with, again, Russia that looks like they are trying to protect their country from the influx and growth of globalism. And again, like I said, I don't blame Vladimir Putin for not wanting globalism in his country. I don't blame him at all. But I do not support going in and attacking another country. So what's worse, woke tyrants like the left and Trudeau, or the sensible tyrants? Rich, that is the million-dollar question. And I was talking to my friend earlier, and he said, it's tough who to believe now, because we used to always believe those who are on the sides of the Americans and the West. But now we can't be certain who to believe, because you remember we talked about they had WMDs, right? When they wanted to justify going into Iraq. Now it was because they heard they claimed that we had all of these intelligence officials told them they had data that there was weapons of mass destruction. Well, the same thing going on now. Sleepy Joe says, well, he has intelligence agents telling him that the greatest threat to national security in America is white supremacy. They can tell these intelligence officials to say whatever they want. I don't believe this crap at all. It's what Joe and his team wants. And so, yeah, what's worse, Trudeau, Sleepy Joe, or Putin and Xi? I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. If Putin and Xi stay in their own countries, or they just stay in their general hemisphere, I would prefer them, to be honest with you. Let's let them do what they want to do as long as they stay within their own hemisphere. That's fine. But we got, again, Sleepy Joe. I mean, I think the Biden administration, actually, what they're trying to do, I think they're actually trying to contain Putin like they thought they could do and did with Trump. They're trying to treat Putin like he's Trump. Joe Mencia, that's right. And so, Dementia Joe. However, they're not going to be able to contain Putin. Putin is not going to bend over. He's not going to take it. He's not going to roll over like a weak dog. He's going to fight back. And Sleepy Joe has a fight on his hands if he's going to go into it with him. Unfortunately, again, we're dealing with nuclear powers. The other factor, which is key as well, Sleepy Joe Biden also has personal ties to Ukraine. When he was the vice president, he used to oversee the Ukrainian interaction with the United States. So you also have his son, okay, Hunter Biden, who also has business interests in Ukraine. So because of that, that could either personally hurt Sleepy Joe Biden, because basically Putin he said his goal was to demilitarize Ukraine. Okay, so he wants to basically pull away their tanks, pull away their ability to resist the Russian participation, other Russians in the country. So as a result, what they're doing is they're trying to demilitarize Ukraine. Well, they also perhaps will go and maybe take over other parts of the government. Maybe they'll take over big and large businesses. This could affect Biden more personally. Maybe his son still has financial interests in Ukraine. I would assume he probably does. So it'll be interesting because there's that personal connection of Joe Biden in Ukraine. Remember what he said. He said, if you don't fire the prosecutor who was investigating his son's company that he was involved in, Burisma, right? He said, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you don't get the $1 billion. Okay? And we talked about a quid pro quo before, right? If that isn't a quid quo pro, that's what they call it, right? I don't know what is. Okay? That's basically pay to play Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the swamp by definition. Okay, that is Sleepy Joe. He is the most corrupt administration. You're right, Don. Absolutely. This is the most corrupt administration. And Joe Biden is the swamp by definition. And I would say going back, and I'm just going to refer to this very briefly, and then I'm going to probably wrap up. And so, what's up, Valerie? Thanks for joining us. So basically, what happened during the election, I know Trump was bogged down with dealing with the virus and so on and all this other cooked up crap. And he also was dealing with all of these different riots being promoted by the left, George Soros, Obama. All of these disturbers and distractors were trying to rile up civil unrest in America. But I wish President Trump had focused more so on the swamp nature of President, or I should say of Joe Biden. Joe Biden is as crooked as can be. Now, and again, I will say in defense of President Trump, he was back on his heels. They were pushing on him regarding COVID, okay, this and overinflating COVID cases and what have you. And they were also pushing on him regarding civil unrest in America due to the George Floyd incident, which was an isolated incident, by the way. It wasn't something that was going on repetitively in multiple places all over the country. Yes, there are isolated incidents every so often of a police officer using excessive force, but this is the minority of the time. This does not happen the majority of the time. So as a result, they manipulated. They took President Trump off of his game. He was under an unprecedented pressure trying to defend himself and his record. He did a fabulous job, and we know what else happened. Obama absolutely started the Great Divide. He is the most un-American president we have ever had. And the reason he got voted in is because people were guilted into voting in him to be a historical first. Unfortunately, that was the wrong motivation. My sister, Soros shouldn't be putting his fingers in our country as well, too. And Soros is another one, right? He goes in, he invests money into trying to put woke district attorneys into different cities to basically influence the prosecution of criminals. He's trying to make it where they don't prosecute crime is rough and is strict. And so we need to get Soros the hell out of our country as well, too. But anyway, so that's that, guys. I'm going to wrap up here. Keep checking in to the underground conservatives. Facebook is putting some pressure on us, but we need to stay strong. They've put restrictions on us. We're out of some of them are expired, but we still have a few we're trying to get through, and we're getting there. But in the meantime, please check out the Patriot Nation YouTube page and subscribe to that, and also continue to post on the underground conservatives. Take care, Patriots. God bless. And we'll see you guys next time. The Democrats are no longer the party of rules. Absolutely, they are not. They are the party of anarchy. Take care. God bless, guys. See you next time. You're welcome. Thank you.